All right. Well, it's that time, my friend. We do a little hot and hotter action. So,
All right, let's get it.
all right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Hot and Hotter podcast. I'm Artie.
And I'm Dan.
Every episode, I give Dan a recipe and we find out if it's
A success,
or a disaster.
nevertheless, it's bound to be an adventure. Let's get to cooking.
Hey, eyebrows. What's going on here?
I'm
Wait,
preparing myself. Well, you're not gonna. Okay,
This is
all right.
this is a food show, Dan.
Okay.
Jeez.
All right.
God. Dan! Gotta be sneaky with him.
Yeah, you actually got me there. I'm an idiot. I fell for that. Well, Artie.
Wait, first.
Yeah, what you got?
Pay respects to the Queen.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yep. I mean, we haven't been part of the monarch for quite a couple centuries.
Yeah, we just kind of dipped on that shit, but hey,
Yeah, well, I mean, respect.
respect. There you go.
Respect.
Respect. They brought all kinds of delicious food, like. So, Dan, what are we doing today?
We did respect the Queen. Let's focus on France. We're doing croissants. I don't know. We're like the biggest a-holes right now.
Right? Controversy. Let's get all the eyeballs. Anyways.
Yeah, we did croissants. You specifically said French croissant in the recipe.
Mm-hmm.
As if croissants really were anywhere else. I guess you'll clear that up in the history.
Yeah,
but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's interesting. It's
Okay.
interesting.
Okay. I will say before you jump into that, I had a little trepidation because
Yes.
the croissant is a pastry that is just everyone knows or is familiar with, and there's certain qualities to this pastry that the flakiness, the butteriness, the shape, the way that it's and I didn't know this, but now the way that it's prepared, if you're a little bit more civilized than myself, it's a specialized process which we'll go through. And I mean it's a very, very famous pastry, and it's also revered as one of the most iconic pastries with regards to variety. I didn't realize that all the different things you can use it, put in it, make it with, and even the varieties of how it's made. So it's a really, really big dish. So that was kind of intimidating for me. But before I get into how it went, let's hear a little bit about the history.
All right, I got you there. So, like you said, you can make a croissant a bunch of different ways. We chose the traditional long way, which is a 3-day process.
Okay.
So, here's the history of the croissant. So, the original croissant was called the Kipferl, and it can be dated back to the 13th century of Austria. So, you're French, you be stealing some things.
Okay.
So, and it was the Kipferl was made to be plain or with nuts or other fillings. And then the birth of the croissant itself, it was an adaptation from that. And that can be that's around the 17th century.
Oh, okay. So it was a hot minute.
Yeah. So it was like Kipferl and then became croissant because someone was like, "Hey, I'm gonna switch things up." Badoop. So again, it's a name. I apologize. You all know the deal by now. Sylvain Claude Goy, a French chef, was the first to make croissants with yeast leavened laminated dough. What that means is that it is dough made with yeast and then laminated with butter, which is a fat essentially, and they laminate it by rolling out, fold, fold, roll, fold, fold, fold. It makes layers, and that's what lamination is. So that happens, and then the first actual printed recipe happens around, I think it's 1853 is the first printed recipe, and that's hold on. Did I
There's a
miss?
there's a development here.
Hold on.
Artie's literally researching this as we are sitting here.
I just misread it and I wrote it down wrong, I think.
That's not like you,
Okay,
Artie.
no, I was right. I was right in the first place. I'm sorry. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm like misreading shit.
You also don't have your hair on.
Wow, dude. Wow. We're just taking digs at me today. All right, cool. All right. So the first actual reference is found among it's called the print was called fantasy or luxury breads, and that was in 1853.
Okay.
But that recipe was for the non-laminated croissant, so like a quick croissant. And
And
then,
just to clarify, the
yeah,
lamination is when you are doing the fold, roll, fold, roll.
correct. So that's when you
Okay.
put the butter in, and then you fold, roll, fold, roll, fold, roll.
Okay.
So the non-laminated is when there's no butter, no fold, no roll. You like, make the dough, rolled out, and then roll, and then cut it up and roll the croissants.
Okay. Gotcha.
So yeah, those are the two different ones. Um, wow, just interrupted me in the middle of my history. Whatever, that's cool.
I was giving you time to research.
Yeah, whatever. So so that's kind of the development of the croissant, and then it like just kind of goes from there. Where like this person makes a better recipe, makes a better croissant. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that's kind of the basic history. So it started as a Austrian bread, which was then stolen by the French, and they threw in some lamination to it, made a little different style, and that's your croissant.
Okay. What was the name of the Austrian variant or the beginning?
Kipferl,
Kipferl. Oh,
Kipferl.
okay. I'll have to look that up. I'm kind of curious how it looks because, like you said, everybody was bouncing back and forth who had the
Yeah,
best and all that. There's a
yeah.
lot of competition
Mhm,
in like
mhm.
who has the best croissant
Oh,
in
yeah.
some of the largest bakeries.
Oh, yeah.
And I in my little research that I did, I stumbled across a lot of different varieties. And I mean there's varieties in recipes, but there was some serious differences in preparation of a croissant.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I was kind of surprised at that and it was almost like you just kind of had to pick one and just zero in on that and just
Yep.
focus on that and because there's like I said, there's a lot of variety, and then you throw in the
Yeah.
different types of contents in it. I saw anything from chocolate to almonds to
Oh, yeah.
cheese. A ton of different things. So,
Sorry, give me 1 sec. Leave it in. I haven't been able to take these off all day.
what are you doing? Oh, you're taking your shoes off.
Okay. I'm sorry for that.
All right, Artie, just showing up prepared today. I like it. All right, so I'm gonna have to be honest with you, Artie. I kind of cheated on you this dish.
That's okay. I like to hear that. That means you're doing what I'm trying to get you to do.
Well, let me be honest because I pulled up the recipe and there's already been
Uh,
some additions that weren't there prior. And
I didn't make any changes.
yes, you did. The first thing I saw under the ingredients was they weren't divided into dough or anything.
Oh,
They
yeah,
they weren't
I did do
divided,
that. I did do that.
and
Yeah.
and the first ingredient was 510 grams,
Yeah.
and then nothing.
Yeah.
Now, using my brain, I assumed that that was flour.
Yes.
Okay. But
Yes.
at that moment when I saw that, I went into the living room and I told my wife, said, "I'm kind of tired of this. I'm gonna go rogue." I told her
Good.
I'm going rogue.
Do it.
So I went and I found my own recipe, Artie.
Okay. All right. All right.
So I was unfaithful
That's
this
okay.
episode.
That's what I'm
But
trying to. That's what I'm
after
trying. That's
going
what I want. That's what I want.
well, for what it's worth, I just found a YouTube of some lady making it, and I just basically followed what she had.
Yeah.
And it's very very similar. She didn't get as specific as what you did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read your recipe pretty quick, and I'm
Yeah.
just going to make a note of the things that I did a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at its core, these are the same. These are the
Yeah.
same. So you said about 510 grams of sugar, flour, 510
Yep.
grams of flour.
Yeah.
I just used 3.5 cups, which I believe
Yeah.
is about the same.
Yeah. It's about the same.
Okay, you have
I'm just start when we were working with baking things, I'm starting to get very specific
no, and that's
because
fine.
that's what you see me slowly moving into it. And now I'm
Yes. Yeah, in
just
fact, everything on
doing
here
it.
is grams this
Yeah.
time.
Well, except for which we'll address when you come to the tablespoons and teaspoons, because I know that's your complaint, and I'm finally gonna explain to you why I do that.
Okay. You have broken me, Artie. I have gone rogue. I don't really care. I just kind of I just do what I can. And actually, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the most relaxed I've ever been doing a recipe because I literally put my hands up and like, all right, Artie, I don't speak your language. I just
There
don't
we
get
go.
it.
Yeah. That was
So
the goal the whole time.
you have made me an independent amateur person that throws
I
around
made
dough in the kitchen.
I made you an independent woman, which was the goal.
Well, then, thank you. So you have ice water here,
Yeah.
and I used warm water. The
Okay.
reason I used warm water was probably because of the yeast. Um,
Okay.
because if I remember back, we did a dish, and I don't remember exactly what it was, a dough,
Mhm.
and you had to have the water at a somewhat at a reasonable temperature for the yeast to activate. If it's too hot or
Yep.
too cold, it doesn't operate, or it's too sluggish or something like that.
Yes.
So I am curious, and if you want to explain now or whenever you're talking about your how you prepared it, why you chose these cold liquids, and how that might have affected it. But I used warm water. I didn't measure it out. I think it was just like a cup. I measured like a
Mhm.
cup, and
Mhm.
I literally just mixed the water and the milk together, and then I poured that into the flour. Then we added some sugar,
Yeah.
and then I added the yeast, and then I started mixing it because the lady on the YouTubes said, "Don't add the salt until the yeast has been mixed in because it may inhibit the yeast if it's added prior." I
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. I mean, that can happen.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, that's what she said, and I did that. And then we added I added 2 tablespoons of butter, 42
Mhm.
grams.
Mhm.
Um, and then all of that. Yep, that's pretty much what I did. I don't remember adding I honestly don't remember if I added an egg or not in the dough.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think. I don't think there was an egg in the dough.
No, the egg was for covering the croissant before you bake.
Yes, that was for the egg wash. Okay,
Yes.
gotcha. Because I was thinking back. I'm trying to remember. We've done a lot of doughs, and as I've said before, dough is kind of like my arch nemesis. I'm still
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yep.
And it was this dish. I fully comprehend why there are bakers and there are chefs. Like there is
Yes.
a specific
Oh
role
yeah.
for a baker because it
Yeah.
is this is a whole nother world.
Oh yeah.
But so yeah, those are your basic ingredients for the dough, and basically the whole dish. To be honest,
Yeah.
there are some
Yeah.
tools that you're going to need, and I do feel like we need to go through that.
Yes. Yeah.
A stand mixer is nice to kind of get a nice even incorporation of all the
Yes, it
ingredients.
is.
Mixing this by hand, I could see being an issue.
Yeah.
The stand mixer kind of alleviates that. And the large workspace is very important because you're going to be rolling this out. You're going to need some surface area, some real
Yes.
estate to spread this dough because it's gonna be big. Rolling
Yeah.
pin. You have a ruler. I more or less eyeballed mine.
Okay.
The lady in the video was kind of eyeballing. I was like, I can do
Yeah.
that. So
I
I
I
just kind of
I I started with a tape measure and then I went to be like, whatever, I'll eyeball it.
yeah.
I'll eyeball it. Like it As long as you understand what you're doing when you're rolling a croissant, you can
Mhm.
eyeball it.
Yeah,
You're
I
just
just watched it.
fat end, thin end, cut it
Mhm.
appropriately. That's it.
Okay. Um, a ruler, if you wanna get really specific, I can see this
Yeah.
being useful for if you're doing mass production for, like, a bakery or
Oh,
something.
100%. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you're getting the most out of your dough and the most out of
Yes.
the,
Yeah.
consistency and size. Um, a pizza cutter, which was really, really smart. I thought that was really
Yes.
ingenious, super helpful for getting those
Yeah.
nice edges and whatnot.
Yeah.
A pastry bush, that's for the, when you're adding the egg wash,
Mhm.
a couple baking sheets, and then parchment paper.
Yep.
But yeah, you wanna get some of these finer in utensils. I actually used, I don't know what it's called, but it's like a dough cutter. It's just like like a handheld guillotine kinda looking thing. Um, and
Oh,
you kinda
a
scrape up the,
scraper?
yeah,
Yeah, it's a
um,
scraper.
and it had a fine edge, so it helped me
Yeah,
kinda
yeah,
cut some
yeah,
things too.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's what you wanna get into. Now let's get into the steps. Alright, so you combine the dough, and
Yep.
then you mix it up. Um, I'm gonna tell how I did it, and then I'll just hand it over to you on how you handled
Okay.
the dough.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I just mixed it up, and then I actually let it sit out for about an hour and a half, just
Yep.
in room temperature.
Mhm.
And then I put it in the fridge. I covered it with a tea towel, and the lady, she did something I've never really seen before. She actually put, shrink wrap or plastic wrap over the tea towel. She says it kinda helps, um what's the word? Regulate the coldness so that it doesn't get, like, hard edges. I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
if you,
it prevents essentially air from going over the dough.
okay. I felt stupid putting like, plastic wrap over a towel.
No, I did something similar. So I didn't do the tea towel. I took Saran wrap and coated like it was in a bowl. Took
Uh-huh.
Saran wrap and put it on top of the dough, like to where it was touching it, and surrounded it with Saran wrap, so
Mhm.
no air was touching it. And then I put Saran wrap over that, pushed all the air out, so that there was like two buffers. So there was the dough, Saran wrap directly touching the dough, and a buffer of air, and then Saran wrap over that. And what that does is it prevents like a flow of air from touching the dough, so it doesn't get a crust or surface like that,
Yeah.
so
Like, it almost felt like,
same
one,
concept.
okay, it's like you, like, insulated it almost.
Yeah, pretty much,
Okay, because one little tiny edge of it did get hard. It looked almost like kinda like a freezer burn kinda thing.
pretty much, yeah.
Um, but, I mean, everything else was fine, and,
Yeah,
when I first made it, I needed to add more flour because it was pretty sticky. It
mhm.
was too sticky, so I had to kinda, it
Well,
was too wet.
it's supposed to be sticky.
Well, it was sticky to itself, but, like, before I added the last little bit of, like, half a cup of flour, it was
Uh-huh.
like I couldn't get it off my hands. It
Yeah,
was,
it's supposed to be that sticky.
oh, okay.
So
Well,
it's a dough that you're supposed to work with cold. So when it's cold, it doesn't stick, so you gotta be in fridge, out of fridge, in freezer, out of freezer. So that's the
weird.
whole point of it.
Okay, well,
Um,
it was just when I was getting it out of the original mixing bowl that it
oh, yeah.
was like, venom. It was like a symbiote was trying to take me over. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, it's very sticky.
"Okay."
Yeah,
Well, I added a little extra flour there.
that's
I
not
hope
good.
that
That's
didn't
fine.
really,
No,
okay,
that's fine.
because I wasn't getting it in the bowl or on the whatever if
No,
I had
yeah,
it in
that's
my hand.
yeah, if it's, like, liquidy sticky, then, yeah, add more flour, but if it's just, like, sticky dough sticky, then that's
Mm,
what's supposed to be.
okay. Well, then you fridge it.
Mhm.
And so I believe the first time I put that in the fridge, it was about 8 hours.
Yeah.
It was 8 hours. And then I took it out. Now, on the video, hers actually rose a little bit,
Mhm,
just a little bit. Mine never really moved. And that was the first time I was looking at it going, I don't know if the yeast has done its job completely.
mhm.
There was a little bit. I could tell, I think it's what, CO2, like the, hold on. Science
No,
here.
yeah.
Yeast eats sugar
Mhm.
and gives off CO2.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was, I could tell, like, it had mass, but it
Mhm,
wasn't risen as much as it did as hers
mhm.
in the video. So I was a little concerned there, but I mean, it still felt and reacted, and
That's
it
fine.
was like dough. So that was the first 8 hours. So then I pressed it out, made my rectangle, so to
Mhm,
say, or my square. I made my
mhm,
square,
mhm,
and then I had the room temperature butter.
mhm.
So this is the next thing that I need to do better because I will definitely be doing this again.
Yeah.
I didn't quite get my butter warm enough. It was
Mhm.
warm, it was malleable, I could
Mhm.
manipulate it, but
Yeah.
it wasn't, well, here, I'll explain it. So I took, what was it, 2, it was a cup and a quarter's worth of butter. So that's 2
Yeah.
sticks and then half of another stick, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, yeah, 'cause a stick is half a cup. So 2
Yeah.
sticks and then half. So there's a lot of butter, and
Yeah.
I made my thing, but I cut the sticks down lengthwise, and I laid them next to each other. So what I had was, like, a couple things of butter there, and that's important. The reason I'm describing that because it come back later. And then I made my square. I kinda squeezed it together, but I didn't really mush it all together.
Uh-huh.
So even though they were 2 sticks side by side and their edges were kinda blurred and they looked like they were together, when you folded it up into the butter, as it got hardened, when I put it back in the fridge for the next stint and I started rolling it, I could see that those sticks were still kind of in the same orientation.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a mass of butter that evenly distributed into the dough as I was rolling it out. The sticks kind of had, it almost looked like tracks in the dough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
just me not letting the butter get warm enough to where it just turned into a square mass. So I'm gonna go back to large square of dough, square of butter in the middle, fold the
Yeah.
corners up over, make it like nice little package,
Yeah.
and then you freeze that. Or no,
Yep.
freeze that. You put it in the fridge for 8
Yeah.
hours. Okay? Then you take it back out, and this is your first rolling. And I thought this was really cool because you could feel the butter kinda crunch
Yeah.
as you're kinda, like, squeezing it out because the butter rehardens as it's inside this parcel of dough, and
Yeah.
I'm rolling it out, and you kinda go for a rectangle kinda feel because you're gonna fold it up, and
Mhm.
the lady we folded it like a letter, like you fold
Yeah.
it in thirds is what
Yeah.
I did, and then you put that back in the fridge for another 8 hours. So we've had,
Yeah.
you know, 18 hours worth of, or 20 hours worth of fridge time for this through different
Yeah.
intervals. And, you can roll it out again. And then we get to where we start making the actual croissants.
Mhm.
So, layered it again after that first time, rolled it out, and then, you got to get it to a certain thickness. And
Yeah.
I just kind of eyeballed it like the lady did in the video. You have much more thorough instructions here if you're really
Mhm.
looking to get, more, more, I guess, a pinpoint accuracy with regards to the thickness of the dough.
Yeah.
I think I did a pretty good job. I rolled it out, and it was such a large amount that I actually, saved half of it for later because the time that I rolled it out the day, my kid was at school and he really wanted to roll some. So I saved some
Yeah.
dough for
Yeah.
later that day.
Yeah.
So the first batch, I rolled them out. I made them. It was kind of cool how you had to cut a little. So you cut it into triangles, and you had to cut a
Yes.
little notch in the big end of the triangle,
Mhm.
and you kind of separate it as you roll it up, and that kind of helps give it that length coming out the side, and
Yeah.
gives you that crescent shape.
Mhm.
And the lady in the video said that you're supposed to kind of take the two ends of those crescents and put them together,
Yeah.
and then set them down. This will
Yeah.
all make a lot more sense. It's just weird explaining this, but in the beautiful nature of
Yeah.
editing, you will see this on screen.
Yeah.
Um, and so put them, and then you put the egg wash. Yeah, you put the egg wash on them, and then you let them proof for
Yeah.
about an hour and a half,
Yeah.
um, which is like the last chance for the yeast to do its thing, I
Mhm.
believe.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Because the whole thing that she was saying is every time you press it, you're releasing the CO2 so that the yeast can get back in there and get back to work some more.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
it also is creating the layers.
Yeah.
So you're trying to do that. So anyway, baked them. One of the best smells in the house. So
Nice.
buttery. And
Yeah.
as they were baking on the sheet, it looked like it was kind of my wife. I forget what she said. She said something about like it looks like they're sunbathing in butter inside because like the
Nice.
butter leaks out and it's like all shiny and
Yeah, yeah.
glistening and
Yeah.
it's all yellow and it's really, really good looking. And so, pull them out, and I was really, really pleased with these.
Nice, good.
I was really excited about them because dough is something that I'm very apprehensive with because
Uh-huh.
it's like my nemesis.
Yeah.
Um, I was very pleased with these, and I have a video of it, and I'll show it where I'm breaking apart one, and you can see, like, the flakiness and the
Mhm,
layers. It was I let them go a little bit longer. I had about 15 minutes, and I kinda flipped
mhm.
them in the tray a little bit
Yeah,
positioning-wise about halfway through.
yeah,
But they came out looking pretty good by my standard, especially for first ones,
yeah.
and I was excited. I really was, and they were
Nice.
so good. They were
Very
real
cool.
heavy. They were real heavy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, alright.
And that was another I mean, but okay, they were heavy as in, like, they filled you up,
Yeah.
but when they were light, and that was I was surprised because when you added that butter to that dough that first time,
Mhm.
that was that had some weight. Like, that
Yeah, yeah,
dough and that butter was thick,
yeah,
and I remember picking it up, and it's like carrying a newborn child. It's got
yeah,
some heft
it's a
to
lot
it.
of butter, yeah,
And, so it was good, and then, you know, you roll it up and it's heavy on the pan, but then it comes out and it's nice and light and flaky, and
yeah.
I was ecstatic. So, that was my long diatribe. Let me hear yours, bud.
So, first of all, the I did it the way I the recipe I set up is that you throw the yeast in the dough, you get it all mixed in, and you put it in the fridge. And the reason you don't I mean, like you get the yeast going, you put it with a little
Mhm,
bit of milk or water, whatever you want to do. You throw it in there, you mix that all, and then the dough you put in the fridge right away. And what you're doing is that you're letting the yeast do its job slowly over the 3 days. So what that does is that contributes to like a deeper bread flavor.
okay.
So it's still doing its yeast thing. It just you don't see it as quickly. So those little rises are normal. And also depending on the yeast you have, you could have the good yeast, you could have bad yeast, you could have like lazy half-assing lease, lazy half-assing yeast.
There
That
you
was
go.
hard.
That was a tongue twister.
So, anyways, so I throw all my stuff in, mixed it up. And unfortunately, we're doing this during a heat wave in California. So every single day has been like 110 plus.
Yikes.
So I got it done. But when I was doing the final part where you roll it out and cut it up, yeah, I got some ugly ass croissants.
Oh, d no,
They
no.
are ugly. Oh,
So
so
what
ugly.
like, the heat broke down your dough or something, or
It was just so hot in the house that the pulling it from the fridge, like and hot for if you've listened to us long enough, small amounts of heat can very much have an effect on what you're cooking and how you're cooking it, especially doughs, especially things that are supposed to be cold when you're making them. So I just wasn't working quick enough because you have to roll this thing out to like 44 inches in length by 8 inches. So it's a big. You need a lot of surface area. If you're not,
Mhm,
and you can't be really quick with it because it's dough. Dough does what dough wants to do. So it got a little too warm. So trying to roll, I was just like, all right. At some point, you can like in the video, you see me like measuring. I'm like, I'm cutting that. At some point, I just like you see me move the tape measure. And I'm just like cutting, just like I don't care at this point. Just make these things. Um, but they baked up. They tasted delicious. Mine aren't like huge things. I made like little tiny little ones.
okay.
Um, but yeah, they turned out good. Like I pull them apart. It's got this swirl. It's got what it should be. But after this process, I want to make these a lot because
I do too.
it's not a hard process.
Yeah,
It's really not. It's make a dough, put it in the fridge, pull the dough out, roll it out, put some butter in the middle, fold it up, put it back in the fridge.
yeah,
Pull it out, roll it out. That's it. Like that's really the whole process. And
yeah.
you could actually do this whole process in 1 day if you want to. You don't have to do the 3-day process.
Yeah, I guess you could, but I think having
You're
only
getting
done it this way, I
yeah.
think if you
You get
do
a
it
better
shorter.
product.
Yes, and that's
Yeah,
what the lady
yeah,
on the video said, like, the more you can give it, the better
yeah,
the flavor will be, the better
yeah,
the it'll look, and I'll have to take their word for it, and I'll have to
yeah,
try it out different ways,
yeah,
but yeah, it's funny you say that. It was I remember looking at Ashley, my wife, and going, "This is fun. This is like playing
yeah.
with Play-Doh that tastes a lot better."
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
And it was kind of funny because the way that I had to you have to schedule this out if you do, like, the really long fridge times.
Yeah, you do.
Um, so I the first time that I did the whole laminating, the layering and the folding, I washed my hands, but I immediately went out and had to go mow the yard. And it was
Mhm.
such a weird sensation, like, I just got done doing this dough, and I'm like, I'm out there and I'm sweating, and I do this, and I smell dough and butter as I'm, like, mowing the yard. So I got, like, fresh cut grass and butter, and it's just, like, it was an
Just smells.
amalgamation of senses,
Just
and
am I sweating butter? What is
it was
happening?
it was weird. But I will say, and it's funny you say that with the heat wave, working the dough, the butter starts to kind of like not leak out, but you can
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
it. It's
yeah.
kind of like
It gives.
osmosis.
Yeah, it
Yes.
gives.
And as the dough warms up as you're working it, it starts getting slipperier or
Yeah.
slipperier, and it's just it's and so you have to move kind of quick. If
Yeah,
you
you
go
do.
too slow,
Yeah.
you want it to be cold because, like you said, it's better as cold to manipulate. It starts warming
Yeah.
up, it starts getting sticky
Yeah.
and weird. So
Yeah, it's
no,
it's it's a fun thing to do. It's a fun recipe, and all the recipe I put up for everyone is gonna be very easy.
I hope you're not offended.
No! Dude, are you just now getting it?
Well,
This is the whole process.
I get that, but I also there's an element to your recipes that drive me nuts that I think is quote unquote entertainable or enjoyable for everybody else. It's
Mhm.
entertaining for other people. And so I just kind of got fed up with it. I'm not doing your dance Artie. And so I
It's
went
the
my
ch
own way.
it's the chaos that feeds the beast,
I abhor chaos.
and that's why this is such a good show.
Yeah, whatever. So which we joke about sharing the same kitchen at a time for a recipe. I don't know if we might end up not being friends anymore.
I mean, that's a different thing. You're gonna s that's like me in game mode. You're gonna see, like
Yeah.
you'll see me in my A game.
Yeah.
I'll be
Okay.
like I'll be like, "Keep up, Dan, clean your station. What are you doing? Why is the come on, let's
Are
go,
you
dude. What
really?
are you doing?"
Are you gonna
"Oh,
be like,
dude,
Iron Chef or whatever the Hell's Kitchen?
a clean station is a safe station."
Okay. Well, this was a success. They were
Awesome.
delicious. I think
I
I
mean,
made about 16.
the apprentice has become the master
No, do not. Do no. Nope. Um,
because
I
mine were
am
ugly. They taste delicious. Like, one I called the Humpty Dumpty. It's just like a blob. It was the last one I was like, "Whatever." It's rolled up like a big ass hunk of
I did that
dough.
too because you trim it because you want a
Yeah, yeah,
rectangle so that
yeah,
you can like fashion out the triangles,
yeah,
nice clean straight lines. So what did you
yeah.
do with your refuse of the edge that you trimmed away?
I just threw it away.
Really? I just balled it up, flattened it out, and I made a log. I called them
Oh, no, no,
logs.
no, you're right. That's what I did with the last one. Yeah, that
Okay.
was the remaining dough. It's like
It was
flipped it
good.
around and around. Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest one.
Yeah.
That is one thing I was disappointed in is I wanna make, like, these big old honkers. Like, I wanna
Mhm.
make the big croissants, but the recipe that I put together it's for smaller croissants.
Mhm.
You can tell by the but at the same time, if I wanted to make big croissants, I would have been able to make with this recipe 3.
Yeah, you gotta cut your dough different.
Yeah, yeah, that's all it is. It's just cutting the dough different.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So
That makes a lot of sense.
for the future.
Okay. No, I know I say this pretty much every episode, well, a couple of them. I wanna do this again. I literally want to do this
Oh, yeah.
tomorrow. I mean, they're so good. I've had them
Yeah.
for breakfast the last couple days. I'll grab them as a snack in the middle of the day.
How
My
many did
my
you
wife
make?
loves them. About 16 to 18 of them.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. And
My
then I
rest
mean, they were like about, this big.
Okay, that's the same size as the ones I made. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, they're just so good. Now they they are heavy, like, after you eat them, you
Yeah.
can tell you've ingested some carbs.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's butter and flour.
Yeah, and not just a little butter, it is I
No,
was
yeah. You're looking at a cup of butter minimum.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun, it was fun.
Yeah,
So,
it's a good one.
thank you very
Well,
much, sir.
well,
That was
sounds
success, I
sounds
like it.
good, good. Nice bounce back from the last one. I like it.
Oh yeah, that was rough.
What to do next? What to do next?
I think what you should do next is tell people where to find us.
Okay, I can do that. As always, you can get the audio version of the podcast at all the podcast platforms, wherever your ears get your podcast. That's where we are. The video version is on YouTube, hotandhauter.com. Our socials are Hot and Hauter everywhere. And now that I'm done, well, not done, I have my final exam on Monday. But with all this new work stuff, that short form that short form content, it's been a long day.
Dude, it's been a long couple weeks for you, man.
That short form content is going to be flowing like molasses.
Well, the beautiful thing about that is you can just pull it from whatever episodes and just let it fly.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start cutting things up and putting it out there. You're gonna be like, stop it! What just happened? What was that?
I don't know. Did you just have like a
I'm
being appear in your?
I'm being abducted. Bye, guys. Anyways, aliens, come on, bros. We're in the middle of a podcast.
We're here for your croissants.
We have come for your croissants. Then now they made me forget where I was. Oh yeah, socials, Hot and Hotter everywhere, and check out our website, hotandhotter.com. Recipes, and also the audio podcasts are there too. So that's us.
And I'm gonna go through the recipes on the website just to make sure that they have been de-artied.
Dude, I always de-arted them. They're artied for you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Everyone else gets the normal one. You get chaos.
Yeah, well, I didn't do chaos today. This time I went somewhere else.
Well, clearly, I'm kind of disappointed in you. I don't lie, but I mean,
why? Because apparently mine look better than yours.
No, that's good. That's what I want.
You're like a roller coaster of emotions. I don't know what you're feeling.
Exactly.
All right, let's get out of here.
Hey, keep cooking, y'all. Bye.
See ya.